Over the course of 26 years, she never fired a gun. She never fired one shot. She never fired her taser. She never had to. She was good at de-escalating everything, and here that's what she's trying to do. I'll tase you, which is another way of saying, please stop, so I don't have to hurt you. Please stop.
Welcome back. It's Crime Time here on Closing Arguments. Let's bring in tonight's guest. Joining me, the Chief of Staff for the Rockdale County Sheriff's Department, K.D. Johnson. K.D. has more than 30 years of experience in law enforcement. He served in the Special Victims Unit, Gang Unit, and Intelligence Units before retiring as a precinct commander. Also with us, former gang homicide detective Donald Schweitzer. Donald was a police officer for 10 years. He has investigated gang homicides as a detective, served as a member of the SWAT unit, and worked various narcotics assignments. Great to have you both here tonight, KD and Donald. Today was day one of the trial of Kim Potter in Hennepin County. She shot and killed Dante Wright. She was yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," while she had her gun in her hand. And she fired that gun and killed Dante Wright. One of the issues that seems to be central to this case is whether or not she was even entitled, or was it proper for her to use her taser in the circumstance that she was in. And it came up during the opening statements today, so I want to play first the prosecution, then you'll hear the defense talking about this issue of whether or not Kim Potter should have even attempted to use a taser that day.
Now, in addition to training on fire policy and training on firearms and use of force, you'll hear about policy on tasers. And the policy on tasers for Brooklyn Center is known as conducted energy device policy. And policy says that the purpose of the taser is to control violent suspects as opposed to fleeing suspects. And that appropriate use should result in fewer serious injuries to both officers and suspects. And you will see that mere flight from a pursuing officer is not good cause for the use of a taser. And you will also learn that Brooklyn Center policy says that the use of a taser should be avoided where collateral injury might result. Collateral injury, meaning someone else could get hurt or killed.
Factual dispute that you're going to have to decide is whether the car was moving or whether, in other words, Dante Wright was in control of the car. And the testimony will be that the car was not moving, that he wasn't in control of the car, and that was the purpose of Johnson being there. And you'll have testimony when someone says taser, 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 that's consistent with the training, then everyone jumps back so as not to be shocked by the taser itself. So when Officer Potter shouted taser, 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 that's when Johnson and Lucky moved back. And the fact that she shouted taser, taser, taser saved Johnson's life.
Sam Stefano.
Okay, this is what happened. It's rough. It's rough. KD, let's start first with the use of the taser under the circumstances. Prosecutors, on the one hand, saying that was improper use of a taser. Defense saying no. Trying to save Johnson, who was the officer on the passenger side, trying to keep Dante Wright from taking off with the officer dangling out of the car. So what are your thoughts about the use of the taser in those circumstances?
You know, they were giving him lawful verbal commands for him to comply. He refused to do that. In that situation, I really don't see a problem with using that taser because so many times it has worked. It is a tool, and there are times when they fail. In this situation, the officer grabbed the wrong weapon. She grabbed her gun, and that's very unfortunate. But he was given verbal commands to comply, and he failed to do that. And this is what happened. And the other officers that were around, they probably could have done more to try to subdue this young man. He never should have got back in that car with 3 officers there, but it is what it is. But I don't see a problem with using that taser in that situation.
Donald Schweitzer, this is one of 2 issues that we're going to talk about tonight, but it's a big issue for prosecutors because they are going to argue to this jury that the use of force here, which is the taser, was improper. Or attempted use of the taser because the taser wasn't used, obviously.
Yeah. You know, I think people think it's easy to place folks under arrest when they're resisting near a open door of a car or inside of a car. It's very dangerous for everybody that's involved, the arrestee and the police that are trying to place this person under arrest. We all know that there's weapons in cars. We know that the cars could take off. It's an extremely scary and dangerous moment. So using some type of force to subdue the person is appropriate. Now, for me, I would never use a taser because I just don't think that would necessarily stop this individual from taking off. But I don't think it's an unnecessary use of force. And I agree that, you know, under these circumstances, it was appropriate. Now, there was a passenger in the other side of the car, so that other officer probably wasn't effective in trying to help out the one that's on the right side.
Now, the defendant had chosen this setup and this additional protection in the way that she carried, and she had done this consistently for years, and you'll see evidence of that. She carried in the straight draw position in 2016, left side, straight draw. 2017, left side, straight draw. 2018, left side, straight draw. 2019, left side, straight draw. 2020, again, left side, straight draw, including April 11th of this year, left side, straight draw. She had her taser positioned on her left side, as required by policy, with the added protection of straight draw, pulling it with her left hand. Her Glock, her firearm, again, by policy, on the right side of her duty belt. So the only weapon she draws with her right hand is her gun, not her taser.
What happens in these high catastrophic instances is that the habits that are ingrained, the training that's ingrained, takes over in these chaotic situations, and the historic training is applied and the newer training is discounted. And the evidence in this case is that the tasers were only available in the last 10 years, and this is a brand new taser, whereas by comparison, Ms. Potter has had 26 years of gun training. And an error can happen. We are in a human business. Police officers are human beings.
Welcome back to Crime Time. KD Johnson, Donald Schweitzer still with us. Donald, let me ask you what we just heard here. Does that make any sense to you that the chaos of the situation, she's relying on 26 years of gun training versus just 10 years of taser training, and that's how you could confuse them in a a highly intense situation?
It does to me, because as we've said many times on your program, Vinny, that officers resort to their training. They don't have a lot of time for critical thinking in crisis situations. I never carried a taser on my belt, but I don't think that I would want one after looking at this. There is room for confusion. I think everybody agrees, even the prosecution, that this was not an intentional act. It was poor training. It perhaps was negligence, but this could happen in the excitement of the event. You resort to your training. She pulled her gun, thinking that was the taser. That happened. So I don't even think it's in dispute.
No, not in dispute. But and KD, I think what a lot of people are wondering is how could it happen? And the prosecution is saying it's such extreme recklessness, and you got the defense saying, well, it's the heat of the moment.
In high stress situations like this, it could happen. It's unfortunate that it happened this way, but when officers are involved in these type of things, you have a gentleman trying to get back into a car, which he did. There's so many situations where perpetrators have pulled guns and killed police officers. This happens, and this is what this young lady had to be thinking. I know people think that this is far-fetched for this to happen, but it did, and it's unfortunate.
Absolutely. And again, today, just day one of this trial, but important to have the perspective of officers, which is why we bring you in. Thank you so much, KD Johnson, Donald Schweitzer. We'll see you again really soon. Donald, also a lawyer. Never forget that. Never forget.